You know, every place has a story told by its people. But there's another story, a much older one, written in tracks in the mud and whispers on the wind. Today, we're going to head deep into the woods of Ashley County, Arkansas, to uncover that story, the incredible story of its wildlife. And man, this quote just nails it, doesn't it? It perfectly captures what we're talking about. We're not just flipping through a dusty history book here. We're literally stepping right into a story that is happening as we speak. And we're about to explore some of its most dramatic chapters.
The best way to really wrap your head around this is to picture a living tapestry. Every single animal, from the deer to the ducks to the bobcat, is a thread woven into the very fabric of this county. Some of these threads, as you'll see, were worn so thin they almost snapped, while others have stayed strong through it all.
So, our story. It actually starts with a sound, and then a deafening silence. The first settlers here called this land the Great Wilderness for a reason. It was a place just teeming with life, where white-tailed deer were so abundant they were basically the lords of the woods. But then, almost overnight, the woods fell quiet.
I mean, it's just staggering to think about how fast this all went down. You had unregulated hunting for hides, which were basically frontier currency, and at the same time, people were clearing the land. It was a perfect storm. In less than 100 years, a resource that seemed absolutely endless was pushed right to the edge of extinction across the whole state.
And get this, that statewide number, it doesn't even tell the full local story. For Ashley County, the population wasn't just small. It was zero, gone. The deer were completely wiped out, nothing more than a ghost people talked about in stories. But, okay, that's not where the story ends. Not by a long shot. This is where the whole thing shifts. This is the second act, a chapter of incredible hope, all driven by one of the most ambitious conservation efforts in American history. And it all started with the whitetail. The brand new Arkansas Game and Fish Commission started setting up refuges back in the 1940s, like the one just south of Hamburg. The idea was simple. Give the few deer that were left a safe place to live and a chance to come back. But they didn't just play defense. They went on offense. They got really creative. To kickstart the recovery, they actually brought in these big, hardy deer all the way from Wisconsin to breed with the few native survivors. That genetic mix is the secret sauce behind the strong, healthy herds we see all over the place today. But the whitetail, well, it wasn't the only ghost making its way back to these woods. The black bear, which had once been king of the swamps, had also been completely erased from the landscape. And its comeback story is just as amazing. I mean, think about this 4-act play. First, collapse. The bears are totally gone. Then, relocation. Biologists brought 254 bears from Canada and released them in the Arkansas mountains. From there, it was all about expansion. As that mountain population grew, younger bears started wandering, expanding their range, and eventually, over decades, they made their way back home, into the lowlands of Ashley County. But here's the thing. Not every thread in this tapestry was frayed. While all this high drama with the deer and the bears was going on, some animals were just always here. They were the constant, adaptable critters that kept the rhythm of the landscape beating steady. Like, take the squirrels. You've got the quick, zippy gray squirrel you see everywhere, from deep woods to your backyard. And then you've got its bigger, kind of reddish cousin, the fox squirrel, who likes to hang out in more open pine forests. Both have been a key part of these woods forever. And then every single winter, the sky just changes. See, Ashley County is right on the Mississippi Flyway, which is basically a feathered superhighway for migrating ducks. The waters just come alive with travelers. The classic mallard, the stunning wood duck, all of them, tying this one little county to an entire continent. And of course, you can't talk about survivors without talking about this guy, the raccoon. Our little masked neighbor. If one animal defines the word survivor, this is it. With those clever hands and an all-eat-anything diet, the raccoon has always managed to thrive right on the edges of our world. It's the same deal with foxes. But what's so cool here is how the two species have kind of divided up the territory. The red fox, with that bright white tip on its tail, loves hunting the open fields. But the gray fox, it sticks to the thick woods. And that's because it has a secret weapon. It's the only member of the dog family that can actually climb trees. How cool is that?
So, when you start weaving all these different threads back together, the ones that came back from the dead and the ones that never left, you start to get a real picture of the county's wild heart today. It's a landscape of resilience. But there's one more thread we need to pull on: the county's most elusive hunter. Meet the bobcat. This isn't some myth or a legend. This is the real deal, the true apex predator of this landscape. It's compact, it's powerful, and it's so perfectly camouflaged that it's a living symbol of the wildness that's always here, even when we can't see it.
And this brings us to a really common local debate. You always hear stories, right? Somebody saw a panther or a big cat crossing the road at dusk. But did they really? Well, there's one super simple trick to know for sure. It all comes down to the tail. A mountain lion, which is incredibly rare here, has a long, thick, rope-like tail it uses for balance. A bobcat, on the other hand, has a short, stubby, bobbed tail. That one little detail solves pretty much every mystery. What people are almost always seeing is just a big, healthy bobcat, the true king of these woods.
And that brings us right back to where we started. This living tapestry, it's always changing. The story of what was lost, what came back, and what's always been here, it's a powerful reminder that conservation isn't something you do once. It's a story that keeps going. So the final question is really for all of us. What's the next chapter going to look like? And what part will we play in writing it?